Friends, we've been talking about the important points that we should keep in mind when facing the interview at the UPSC. We have covered 3 episodes, and these episodes related to the etiquette and as to how you should be careful when conducting yourself in the interviewing hall, and as to how you can lead the discussions in case you are able to get the right opportunities. Today we move into the 4th episode, which I would consider as probably the most important, because this relates to common blunders that are committed by candidates when facing the questions, as a result of which their marks come down sharply, probably causing non-selection of the candidates. So it's important to guard oneself against committing those blunders. Now, the first blunder which I can think of is when a candidate is critical of the government. For example, let's assume a situation. Today we have the Supreme Court giving the final decision with regard to the economic criterion being followed for reservations, and as to how the quota for the economically backward persons has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Assume a situation where the court has not yet given a decision. Or even now, assuming that now that the court has given a decision, assume that you have a different point of view, and an interviewing expert asks you about your opinion in the matter. It's very important to be on the right side. It's important to position yourself in such a way that you explain to the board about the correctness of the government decision. There could also be a situation where the government has a view and the judiciary probably has a different viewpoint. For example, with regard to the collegium being constituted by the Supreme Court for recommending the names of judges. Now, the government has a particular view, and we are all aware of that. And we know that the judiciary, the highest forum in the judiciary, is probably not on the same page as the government. Please remember that you are being selected for a position under the government, and it's important for you to be able to argue in favor of the government. Maybe there could be some points of disagreement with certain viewpoints that have been expressed in the government. But as a civil servant, let me tell you, all through in service, it's important for you to implement government policy. And when you implement government policy, your personal viewpoint in the matter doesn't matter. While you formulate government policy, you advise on government policy, at the time of framing the policy, you could have views in the matter and you could advise the cabinet accordingly. But once the policy is finalized, it's important for you to implement the policy effectively and loyally. This is a point which could be checked by the interviewing board, and if you express a different point of view so as to show that you could be disobedient to government policy, it could prove to be costly. Certain candidates have lost heavily because of expressing ignorance about basic matters. When I talk about basic matters, I mean things like the Constitution of India. Let's say the preamble to the Constitution of India. And what does the preamble say? The preamble says that the purpose of the Indian state, the objectives of the Indian state, are to ensure justice, equality and liberty to the citizens of India. and to promote fraternity. Now, it's quite possible somebody might ask you, what does the word fraternity in the preamble to the Constitution imply? You cannot be searching for an answer at that time, nor can you express ignorance about not knowing the meaning of the word fraternity. Friends, let me tell you, the word fraternity actually means being part of a group, being part of one unit. And the whole purpose of the creation of India is to make sure that all the people of India look at themselves as part of a family. And it is that familial intent that is embodied in the word fraternity. And it's important for you to be able to express that point. Thirdly, there are candidates who have expressed their personal viewpoints about the perquisites, the salary, the remuneration being given to civil servants. And they have got into problems over that. We all know that the salaries in the government are considerably lower than what they are in the private sector. The cabinet secretary's basic pay today is rupees 2,50,000. Compare that with a person working in a multinational company in Bangalore. Obviously, the salary of a government servant is considerably lower. And therein lies the issue. The interviewing expert might ask you about what you feel about the salary and remuneration being paid to government servants, particularly because now they have decided that there will be no more pay commissions. And therefore, the possibility of a considerable increase in the pay scales in the near future is almost ruled out. In such a situation, if you are expressing yourself in favor of a more ostentatious lifestyle, let us say, to say, well, somebody used the phrase or the proverb, well, if you give peanuts, you will get monkeys. Now, when you use such statements, it implies a lot. It means that you are dissatisfied with what is being provided to government servants. And you probably feel that they should be paid much higher. It could land you in problems because that would mean that you are not happy with the salary that the government will be giving, and therefore you will be looking for other sources of income, and thereby implying that you might become corrupt later on in service. So these are implications that are available, and it could cost you heavily. Another point which has come up in recent times is the question of autonomy of the states, particularly after the Government of India started thinking seriously about amending the All India Service Rules. I think this point is a very critical one, where you have to be clear about the fact that you are being selected for a national service. You could be posted anywhere in India. You could be part of any of these services. And it's important for you to express the point that between a national government and a state government, your inclinations will always be with the national government. You cannot express yourself strongly in favor of what a particular state government has said against what the national government has said, and thereby give an impression that you would be probably better off as a member of the provincial services or the state civil services rather than being a member of the All India services or any of the central services. And thereby, you could also get into an argument with the interviewing expert. Some people have gone to the extent of trying to impose their viewpoint on the interviewing member. Let's say somebody asks you a question about linguistic organization of states. We all know that the linguistic reorganization of states was done in 1956 originally, and Subsequently also, there has been some reorganization of states which has happened on the basis of administrative grounds. A point could well come up and there could be a different viewpoint expressed by the interviewing expert which probably doesn't align with the point expressed by you, and you could get into an argument. So please remember that when you are in government, you are always free to express your viewpoint at a meeting, before your superior, in a group of officers, but it must be done cordially, politely. There is a hierarchy of structures which you have to respect, and that is something which all these people in the UPSC are well aware of. They have all come up through the hierarchy, and they know that it is important for government officers to respect hierarchy when they function as government servants. Any expression of viewpoints contrary to these conventions in government can also prove to be costly. So we have come to the end of this episode, friends. But I'll continue with the same point, that is regarding common blunders that are committed by candidates before the UPSC board, which have proved to be costly in the past. Till then, bye. Thank you.